Okay, it's July 5th. It just turned 11:26 a.m. Getting close to the middle of the day here, and I want to do my weekly video. And I got some things on my mind here, but let's always first check in with the body. So if you're watching too, you want to do that as well. Just be aware of what you're feeling in your body. This is an incredibly physical process. If you're here going through this ascension, salvation, whatever you want to call it, transformation of the world thing, a lot of bodily sensation to the point that it's impossible not to be aware of it for the most part, and it's very much in the forefront of your existence here. This is a physical plane, and you're experiencing the difficulty of your physical existence here. So just want to always check in. Lately I've been doing a little bit more exercise, and I've been getting very, very sore. My ankles have been giving me more problems than I'm used to in the past. I'm probably carrying a little bit too much weight for one thing, but I've been trying to run and get in a little bit better shape lately, and I'm feeling the soreness in my body pretty intensely, and I don't have the ability to recover like I used to. I don't have the ability to just go run like I used to without any negative consequences. I used to kind of feel like I was always in shape, like I could run at any time and go a fairly long distance, and usually I wouldn't pay a high price for it. I don't think it's an aging thing. I don't buy into this bullcrap of aging about that the humans do here. I think it's a load of bullshit. I think for the most part it has to do with what we're dealing with in this intense salvation energy right now. This ascension energy is very, very difficult, intense on the body, and a lot of self-care, perhaps more self-care than we want to spend time giving to ourselves, is needed to deal with this. But in regards to like aging and so many topics that human beings concern themselves with, for the most part what we need to do is not validate their bullshit. So if someone's talking about aging, oh yeah, well I've hit this point in my life and the doctor said I'm supposed to be experiencing more of what I'm experiencing, and that's why my eyes are going to shit, that's why I can't hear as well, and that's why I can only do a little bit of what I used to. Don't buy any of that shit. Don't buy any of this shit about aging. Don't validate anything about this world here. And when I say don't validate it, I mean don't give it any real reality. You're here experiencing it. Yeah, it has a very profound effect on your life, of course, but don't validate it. Don't act as if it's like a real thing that deserves any kind of respect. That's what I mean by validation. Don't validate the bullshit in this reality. For the most part, the proper thing to do about most of these things is to make fun of them. To hit them with a little bit of humor in some way, and just not give them any real validity. It's an important enough point that I'm sure I'll return to that one. I don't know if I have the words to give it any more lucidity than I did right there. There are a few things that I find very difficult to put into words, and I work as hard as I can to be able to be lucid, because I don't feel like there's anything that's real complicated that's stopping us from making the progress that we want. Most of this is very simple, and it can be put into words very effectively. I don't buy into that cliche at all about life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. That's under my cliches on my website. It's a enormously stupid statement. It's erroneous, but only 100% erroneous. It is a problem to be solved. The existence that we're living here is a fucking huge problem that needs to be solved. And I feel like I got the answer, and that's why I'm making these videos, and that's why I'm doing my thing. I don't see anybody else doing it. I feel like I can be the voice. I feel like I have enough grasp of the situation to be effective in helping out here. And obviously I don't have perfect recall. I don't have perfect memory retention, and that concerned me for a long time. But more than anything, I can communicate this in a pretty glib, offhand, second nature kind of way about how natural and normal it is to save the world. And it's not such a big deal. What I say about saving the world is it's not such a big deal to save the world, but it's a big deal not to save the world. Because not saving the world means more of this, which is a big deal. Saving the world is not a big deal. I mean, we shouldn't really feel that much pressure on us about doing it, because then we have the wrong perspective about what it's about. It's not about straining. It's not about doing things the old way. It's not about wearing ourselves to complete exhaustion all the time in order to get the job done. It's exhausting enough to be here already. It's exhausting enough just to live here and exist on this shitball. We don't need to add any more strain to what we already have. Now, because salvation has to begin in the current context that we're in, there's obviously going to be some strain, especially in the beginning stages, because of where salvation takes place. It takes place on this really difficult planet to be on. So anything that's initiated here does require a lot of hard work, and I'm having to do most of the work on my own right now with regards to this, the endeavor of dissolving the dream. So it's very slow at this point. Hopefully we'll pick up some steam if I get some support. So I started today by going to the chiropractor, and I got a massage as well. Wednesday happens to be a good day for the videos because my communication apparatus gets going with the massage therapist. And there was a man sitting in a chair next to the it's hard to be here. Next to the chiropractic table, you know, the thing you lie in to get adjusted, whatever that's called. And he had like some herniated disc, and he was, you know, I started talking to him because I realized he was in a lot of pain, and sometimes all that needs to happen to get yourself a little bit of relief is just to distract yourself from it and talk to someone else. And so I started talking to him, and you know, he's telling me about how worried he was because he only had a few months left in the bank to cover himself for not being able to work, and all these other concerns, and how his mind was racing and the pain was extreme, and that he could barely get up out of the chair. And you know, he was still there when I left an hour later, just sitting in the chair because he couldn't move. And I wondered to myself, well, what is enough pain such that someone that goes through something like that says, this is it, I will do whatever it takes when I get through this amount of pain? And is such a thing a valid idea, that if you go through enough pain that you'll actually participate in salvation? And I would have to say that it's not a valid idea, that that's going to be the case. Even if that guy gets through this and he gets something from going through all this pain, and even if he has another episode a year from now, and then a year from now, and then a year from now, is he going to have what it takes to participate in salvation? And for the most part, I don't think so. For the most part, I think it's only the souls that have come here to help that are really going to be the answer. That if your programming is so thick and you don't have this spark of awakening within you that you came here with that can be activated, I don't think you're going to be able to be effective in it. Now I want to talk about something else too, about the sage tradition, and what I'm calling sagely tradition. I'll try to do my best to just talk right now. Is this idea that you're gaining wisdom and you're going through all these really difficult experiences, but through doing so you're becoming adept at navigating the world. That's what I'm calling like the sage tradition. So we have a whole bunch of people that want to identify with themselves with the sage tradition. These are people that get into Zen Buddhism, perhaps, or they get into shamanism, and they get into things that require a lot of difficulty and pain, and patiently observing everything, being real neutral about everything. And for the most part, I hope I explained what I'm talking about well enough such that you get the idea of what I'm talking about by a sage. And for the most part, sages are not really factoring into salvation that much either. There are 3 key words, basically, that you need to be able to utter to know if you're actually someone that's really here to help out and who's actually going to be able to make it happen, because it's in your DNA. And those are the 3 words: I miss home. And this is a very weak, kind of vulnerable thing to say, if anything. It's not what a sage would say. A sage is too tough, too goddamn tough. Look at my thick skin. And this is totally the opposite. It's about, I am very sad. I miss home. I miss home, so that maybe if you are watching me or feeling just the sadness that comes up in me when I say those words, and maybe you feel the same sadness. Because it's a very deep sadness about missing home. And those are really, I think, the three words that set the people that are going to actually be a part of the salvation of the world apart from others. Because you have this memory deep in you. Maybe you don't remember anything in particular of your past before coming here. But there's something in you that you feel in your heart, that you feel in every cell in your body, that just, no matter what you do here, you just can't get it. And you felt so wrong about being here for so long. You internalized everything. You thought it was all you that was making everything up about this world, and that you were so screwed up for feeling like such shit from being here. And thankfully, we've come together enough. Here in 2017, we have much better answers that we can put our experience into context and see that most of that stuff that we internalized really had nothing to do with ourselves. And that we have this potential to be who we want to be. That we can be the best version of ourselves that we want to be. But what we had done for so long is we had taken on all the crap of everything else and absorbed it and identified with it. We made it our own. And we believed in all this new age shit about you create your reality. So we internalized everything. And that was part of the plan. That's what I call phase one of salvation. There's basically two phases. Phase one is composting, and phase two is creation. Phase one was very necessary, and we're still in phase one, and we will continue to be in phase one until we actively and massively decide that phase two needs to begin. And phase two is the creation stage. Basically, what we do in the composting stage is we keep the world at a very low level of stability. And when I say low level of stability, I mean at its current state, such that the things in this world can basically continue to function. Traffic basically moves, the food system, the grid doesn't completely collapse. We are basically just stabilizing the atmosphere here so things don't completely just implode. And it's really shitty work, and you should be really tired of doing that. You should be really done with phase one by now, and you should really be wanting to fully immerse yourself in the creative phase, where we start to get to have some fun, some real fun. But this pressure is very real of being in the composting, and some of you are not really in the composting that much. A lot of you sages and a lot of you people that have been reincarnating here for so long, you have got some good positive karma. You make other people believe that you try to make other people believe that the dream can be really good here, that it can be like a fantasy here. But for the most part, those of us that have come here to help have experienced this as being extremely difficult. And for the most part, those of you that have been reincarnating for so long have been developing your karma in such a way that things are going pretty well for you. You're not going to be that helpful to salvation either. Pretty much you need to be a foreigner to actually be of real help here. But we're still in the composting phase as of 2017, and we really need to make this the year that we move into the creation phase. And we can definitely do this. We can do this anytime. I know that I have a role to play in this, and my role, for all I know, could be fairly big. I don't know. I don't know how people are going to respond to me, and so that makes this pretty terrifying. There's a lot of doubts that I have about myself, about my own qualifications for this. I certainly don't have a resume that looks like much in this world. And there's a lot of other doubts that creep in too, about should I really go forward with this? And I have all these different questions about the problems that could arise. And for the most part, the answer is just get some work done today. We'll deal with that as it comes. I wanted to make another video about traffic. Obviously I didn't get to traffic right now. I'm going to end right now, and then we'll continue in a few minutes, and I'll make a video about traffic, because that's a big problem. It's a problem that's pretty easily solved too. And it's an important one.